Well, well, well. I just spilled fish sauce on my fucking keyboard. So we're contending with that. I'd love for you to join me in this horrific experience. Now, by the way, before I get busy on this little live, I just wanted to let y'all know that the price of boot camp is going to be going up next month. It's been the same since 2018. Inflation went up. I kept it the same. This, that, the next thing. I'm finally raising the price next month. So if you ever wanted to get on boot camp, now's the time to get in before the price increase next month. Now, what I wanted to talk about here real briefly was this. Like everybody else in the United States, I watched the fucking Super Bowl last weekend. I don't even like football. I think I'm not smart enough to understand it, quite frankly. You know, the plays and the so forth, the nickel and the shotgun and the fucking formations. I don't get it. All right, look, I get basketball. It's very simple. Pick and roll. Baseball, hit the fucking ball. Run around the goddamn thing. But regardless, I watched the Super Bowl at a party with a bunch of friends, mainly to see the vaunted halftime show, which, as you know, this year was steeped in controversy. Bad Bunny Espanol, no speaky English. This fucking America, speak fucking English. With the amazing Kid Rock alternate American halftime show, etc., etc., etc. Anyway, I'm sitting there with, at the party watching this shit. And I had a very specific realization. I was like, you know what? The NFL doesn't give a fuck about this shit. Like the NFL, like you think that NFL executives give a fuck? Like about the message. There's not some room of like NFL owners and executives, but you know what? We need to stand up for representation and immigrant. We need to stand up, blah, blah, blah. Like they don't give a fuck. What are they doing? They were literally, what is going to cause the maximum divisiveness, controversy, and engagement, which will result in increased ad revenue? I mean, look, everyone knows this on an instinctive level. You drop something like culturally radioactive into the one night where every eye in the country is like glued to the same screen, and then you just sit back and like allow the outrage machine to do the distribution for you. Because that's what it is. It's fucking distribution. So, and then of course, every like talking head and pundit's got to put in their fucking 2 cents, left, right, center, doesn't give a fuck. They're just swarming in like fish, those little fish that eat the meat out of the shark's teeth. They like clean the shark's teeth, like extracting everything they can while the topic is still hot. And then, so as I'm thinking this, I'm like, well, this would make a great fucking video. How can I monetize this too? Welcome to my version of monetizing the fucking NFL halftime controversy. Welcome. So I think that this is it's not difficult to understand at all. It's, incredibly simple. As I said, you have a national audience, introduce some culturally volatile symbol, let the argument run. Now, the thing is, I think that what's important here is the mechanism, right? The argument itself is the asset. The halftime show is the spark. The outrage is the distribute. Like your anger or your reaction is the product, right? Everybody talking about this shit isn't reacting to it. They are harvesting. They are harvesting. That's the pipeline. You understand? Your reaction is not the byproduct. It is the distribution strategy. And once you see that chain clearly, all of the emotional charge like drops out of it. You stop asking, oh, who's right? Who's wrong? What you need to start asking yourself in these types of situations is who's getting paid? The fucking NFL doesn't have to take any sort of real stand on this or fix anything. That's the key problem here, or the key issue, because you got to understand, in any sort of solving or resolution of the problem would in fact be counterproductive. Like if everyone saw this shit and they're like, you know what? Bad Bunny's the shit. Like, this was great. Everyone said, you know what? I was wrong. This is a really good show. That would be bad because then the engagement would stop. And nobody involved in any of this shit is evil. What is this? It's simple incentive structure. Like capital does not have a belief. It has return targets. And what outperforms literally fucking everything when it comes to clicks? Outrage. Literally. Have you ever read a book called Glass Jaw by Eric Desenhall? I read this many years ago when I was embroiled in controversy and scandal myself. And, you know, most people think of the news, like journalism, as, you know, these incorruptible watchdogs for justice. Actually, probably nobody fucking thinks that anymore. I mean, again, that book was written like 12 years ago at this point. But like, I think that people are a little more savvy to this shit now. But one thing they talked about in this book is they did studies, and like, outrage outperforms literally everything when it comes to clicking. Like, it outperforms kitty. One of my personal favorite things on the feed is when you see like kittens and dog playing. That's my favorite. Kitten and dog play, cat and dog fighting and playing together because they were raised as a puppy and kitten together. Oh, that's great. But you know what like makes you click more than that? Outrage. So again, this isn't sports plus some messages. This is message warfare disguised as entertainment, paid for by who? By like companies who experience no shame. You already live inside like the fucking feed blender. You know, what do you see like within 30 seconds scrolling down your fucking feed? Tits, skincare, war crimes, flashing past your fucking eyes, being blasted into your fucking eye holes at lightning speed 24/7. The Super Bowl is the deluxe IMAX version of the same bullshit. And you know, look, like the personal part of all this is, I guess, like you're probably, you know, most people are probably going to be like, you know, look, I agree. It's, you know, this is kind of fucked up. But the fucked up part is you think you're critiquing it. So did I. You know, so do I. Oh, I'm above this. I'm somehow above this. But again, the machine doesn't give a shit whether you approve of it or not. It only cares about what? It cares that you participate. The actual halftime show bullshit, that's already irrelevant. I mean, what is it, fucking Thursday? Like, hell, I'm probably the last person talking about this shit. Now what are they talking about? I don't know, Logan Paul getting in an argument with Tom Brady or some bullshit. Nobody's rewatching the halftime show. So this is kind of where we get into how the simulation functions. And I think that that's kind of the important takeaway here. The original moment dies almost immediately. What survives is the argument, the reaction videos, the think pieces, the counter think pieces. Like, the spectacle devours the event, right? The spectacle surrounding the event devours the thing that caused it. The outrage about it becomes more real than what actually happened. And again, as I said a moment ago, none of this shit's fucking new. You already know this. You know the system sucks. You know outrage is monetized. You know the culture war is a fucking treadmill to nowhere. It's all a bunch of bullshit. You even make like black pill jokes about it. Like, oh yeah, man, it fucking sucks. It's all bullshit. And then you start scrolling again. That is what Zizek called the cynical subject. Which is what? You see the machine very clearly, but you keep feeding it anyway. Not because you're not fucking dumb, all right? Some of you probably are. Some of you certainly are, but most of you aren't fucking dumb. But why do we go to this shit? It's because, look, there's nothing you can do. Cynicism is the last coping mechanism left. It lets you feel aware and like kind of smug about it without having to do anything. You know, it lets you say, oh yeah, as I said in one of my videos, the world already ended, but you still show up to work Monday. You know, the awareness in itself becomes anesthesia. I'm personally not outside of that by any stretch of the imagination. You know, I was on Reddit. You know, like these black pill jokes. Somebody was like, what is something, like the prompt or the thread was, what's something that is a punishment as a child, but a reward as an adult? And the top answer was death. I'm like, that is pretty fucking funny, actually. But again, I'm not, apart from this, okay? You know, think about it. The machine dangled a controversy in front of me, and my first thought was, oh, well, shit, this would make a great fucking video. And here we are. I just decided, we'll make it a live. It doesn't need to be like a proper video. But point is, I'm inside the same system I'm fucking describing. Pretending otherwise would be like the actual grift, But what I'm saying here is, this live, this video, this content talking about this shit, it cannot become your alibi. It cannot absolve you of responsibility for dealing with this. You don't get to watch me name the machine, nod along, feel seen, yeah, gosh darn it, it's right, and then go right back to scrolling like you've done your fucking part, okay? That's what's called interpassivity. Letting somebody else perform the fucking rebellion so you don't have to do shit. Like, you do not get to outsource your awakening, okay? So, again, the choice is yours. You can just understand this shit and then, like, go about your day. And if so, it's just, just more fucking content, more, oh, damn, that's crazy, right? And the machine wins again. So, again, if you're still here, you may be asking yourself, well, what the fuck am I supposed to do about it then, Jeff? Tell me, Jeffy. Well, I'm certainly not telling you to, moralize about it. Oh, this is so manipulative and evil and bad. What this is, it's just tension. These fucking NFL executives, they know very well a clean, neutral, polite fucking halftime show is gonna, oh, what a good show. It gets applause and it just disappears. They know something like this, like playing the keys of like this heated situation in the country right now, that's going to ripple outward. It's going to get clipped. It's going to get fucking argued over, on the radio show, in the kitchen, some of the comment section for several days. And those several days of ripple is worth what? Ka-ching, fucking money. Not because it's good or it's evil, because it just shakes people out of their fucking state. What's the point, Jeff? Here's the point. You need to leverage this shit yourself. That's what you need to fucking do. You need to understand this mechanism and use it yourself in your social life. Because right now, you've been trained to like be smooth everything over, and the second shit gets uncomfortable, heaven forbid you interject any like sort of tension or challenge, or certainly heaven forbid that like you act like you want anything. So what do? You say the safe version of the thing. And then you wonder why nobody gives a fuck when you say anything. You killed the fucking charge before it had a chance to live. That charge, let's just call it charge. That's what moves people. That's what shakes people up. And it doesn't matter whether it's like righteous or fucking absurd, ridiculous, obnoxious. It just has to vibrate in some kind of way. You don't have to like start a culture war in the bar. You could. But, really at the most fundamental level, what this means is you just got to stop flinching when there's like the moment heats up, or where there's like potential for it to get fucking real. Or what you're, say the intention, do the thing, suggest going, provide the invitation, fucking escalate, whatever. Say the fucking thing that you're like, people might not like this. Say the fucking thing. 99% of people, maybe not 99, 95, 95% of people will flinch. And you can see it in their fucking eyes. You can see it. That little retreat. Just like internal collapse. It's very subtle. But for most people, it's constant. What I see people like trying to do, like cold approach, for example, like it's just immediate. It's very, very, it's subtle, but it's very obvious to me at least. And it's very obvious to everyone else, but not in the way where they're like clocking it verbally, like, meant in their mind. Like, oh, there's the collapse. Like, no, they just feel it. They feel the mismatch between what this person's trying to do and what's happening internally. And again, it's like the uncanny valley where it's just fucked. There's like, this person's not fucking here. It's a fake motherfucker, and it's just done. So you just need to hold your ground when shit gets weird. Like let something land without like scrambling to apologize or, well, I didn't mean it that way. Like just fucking say it. Let it breathe. Like, let these motherfuckers feel. that you're not out there scrambling for their approval. Suddenly people are paying attention when you do that. That's what makes people be like, oh, we got a real motherfucker here, right? Because there's a difference. How should I say this? Farming division for profit, let's just call it, basically being like an edgelord. That's not what I'm suggesting to do. I'm just saying, you must remain steady when tension rises, right? That requires congruence. That's what I'm trying to get at here. Look, what is congruence? We used to define that as your thoughts, words, and actions are all in alignment, right? So anyway, kind of back to the main point though, once you kind of understand how the machine, the simulation, whatever you want to fucking call it, how they employ that kind of charge, now you can stop pretending that you're above it. Oh, it's so unfair. Now you can start deciding how you move inside of that system, right? You stop whining about how unfair it is and all this bullshit, and you start paying attention to where your own signal collapses under attention. You can keep being that fucking guy who puts forth this HR approved fucking persona and smooths everything into absolute fucking boredom and watch your sets fizzle out again and again and again and again and again for eternity. Or you can learn how to sit in the tension, how to sit in that heat without dissolving. That's the whole fucking thing here. Okay? It's the same exact physics. It's just you standing differently inside of it. Okay, when you do not flinch, people recalibrate you. Basically, you are setting the vibe. You're not allowing the vibe to be set for you, right? And when you start doing that, and again, look, there's varying degrees of this. I had a student recently, and this guy, he was absolutely terrified to rock the boat in any kind of way whatsoever. He was absolutely incapable of it. And so and this is a good-looking dude. In fact, he was so good-looking and well put together that they kept accusing him of being gay. They're like, you're gay, you're gay, you're gay. Why? I mean, he's good. He's just a good-looking guy. He dresses well. He's fucking, in good shape. But his vibe is just so hey, girls. Hey, girls. And they're just dude, this guy, there's nothing here. There's no tension whatsoever here. It's boring as fuck. And so they assume he's fucking gay. And so I'm dude, you got to start shaking shit up. And he had heard me saying some pretty obnoxious things earlier that evening on the boot camp. And so it's I can't say that shit. I can't say this shit. I'm all right, let's start very simple. See that girl over there? Go up and say this. Be are you going to fucking apologize? Not even fucking. Are you going to apologize? And he's for what? I'm it doesn't matter. You could say anything after that. You know what you did. You know what you did. Or it could be I don't know, but we both know you're going to have to eventually, so you might as well get out of the fucking way. So, just go. And so he goes, and I saw this. This is at a place called Boondocks in Scottsdale. And he walks over, and I see this. She's like, huh? And he says it, and she goes, all of a sudden, it's completely different fucking vibe. Now it's oh shit, there's something possible here. There's a spark. So again, when you don't flinch, something odd happens. People recalibrate. They start measuring themselves against your vibe instead of the other way around. And you can literally feel that inside when it happens. It's very subtle. It's like gravity finding a new center. The vast majority of guys that I see, students, they just kill that possibility before it even has a chance to form. And then they wonder why nobody fucking gives a shit. Why they're forgettable and everything fizzles out. You don't get talked over because you're fucking it's bad luck. It's because you are telegraphing retreat. You are hiding. You're not even fucking there. You're not even fucking there. You're sending a decoy. You're not present. You're sending a representative. And most guys, at least at the, when they first come in, they think that winning socially is about being like impressive or like charisma is something that, and by the way, that's why I changed the name of this channel from Charisma in the Void to Presence in the Void, because charisma is very like performance coded, isn't it? Hey, don't you like me? It's like it's like jester maxing, as the kids say, right? The way I think of it now, it's like presence is the operating system that underlies it, and charisma is downstream of that state. So presence is the operating system, charisma is the UI, it's the user interface. But if you don't have the presence, the UI will not function, right? So again, you think you're going up and hey, you got to check the boxes, you got to be impressive. Meanwhile, some totally fucking average, I would call him a chode, like some totally average dude who's able to stay calm in all of that and just lock in and be present and smile. That guy closes the deal in like 25 fucking minutes. Again, like my assistant, this guy Bryce, he's not impressive verbally. It's not at all, you know? So it's basically, you watch that shit and you watch this guy who's like objectively not better looking than you, most likely. That's the guy that leaves with the fucking girl while you're still like hoping it goes well. You know, checking if you're coming off okay. Is it going good? You know, so point being, you got to put yourself under pressure of like when you inject some heat you got to inject some heat into the interactions. That's all, right? Heat enters the interaction. Some people will fucking hide from that shit. Some people stay. The ones who stay, it doesn't necessarily look heroic. It doesn't look amazing. Like, oh shit, what's he doing? These guys, they just look relaxed, vaguely amused, perhaps. You know, stupid little smirk on their fucking face, but they're just right there. The main thing is they are comfortable being seen without rushing to manage other people's perception of them. You have been trained to micromanage other people's perception of you. So what do? You know, you want to make sure you're not too, I can't say that. That's fucking weird. I don't want to be perceived as a weirdo. So again, you apologize for the notion that you might want something, and you clarify and you fucking shrink. What do you call that? You call that being mature or self-aware or calibrated. No. It's you fucking like disappearing. It's you being fucking erased. Meanwhile, at scale, the culture understands this shit very well, right? Unresolved tension travels, as we saw with the fucking halftime bullshit. You throw something charged into a synchronized audience and it spreads like a virus, okay? Not because it's moral or immoral or right or wrong or up or down or left or right. It resonates. So you don't need to like create a halftime show, you know, to use that mechanism. What you need is to stop collapsing when the shit gets hot, right? So again, I'm not telling you here to like start fights or be some crazy fucking guy or be this like shocking edgelord in the club, okay? Why? I talk about weaponized absurdism a lot. Let's make a distinction here. Absurdism is not randomness. It's simply what happens when you realize there is no sacred script that you have to fucking obey. There's no official way that you're supposed to fucking operate in a conversation. All that shit is imaginary. It's bullshit. So instead of obeying some like invisible rule book, you just go up and you create a fucking moment. And sometimes that just means holding eye contact. Sometimes it's saying something a little bit out of pocket and letting it hang. Right? Like creating like a tiny break in the expected rhythm. That shit wakes people the fuck up. You have seen this. You have borne witness to this. At some point, I'm sure you have. You know, somebody throws like a strange little playful comment that cuts through the fucking fog of bullshit small talk, and suddenly everybody's like, oh, who the fuck is this? This culture, our culture, weaponizes absurdity at scale by throwing chaos into the system and letting the people fucking bicker and shit about it, right? You use absurdity socially by staying congruent while introducing charge. You just let it breathe and you stay in it. Okay, that's what people feel. The stability underneath the absurdity. Okay, and once you have that, you're not acting crazy. You're just free. You start looking free. Because I've always said, look, what is fucking charisma? Like, what is the benefit of being charismatic? To you, the benefit is this feeling of, this exhilarating feeling of energy flow through these previously inhibited channels. From the perspective of the people that you interact with, they're getting, the benefit that they get out of it is like, an enhanced sense of human potential, let's just say. They're like, holy shit, this person's free in a way that perhaps I am not. And maybe if I was to hang out with this person, I could feel like that too. Or if they already are like that, it's kind of like a game, recognized game, kindred spirit, and they want to be around you. Point is, it's highly, highly attractive. And if you do not train this, you do not get it. You will not get it. And again, I'm not offering some kind of like rise above it, solution here. Like rise above it all and some like fantasy of like, stepping outside of it. You are inside the machine whether you fucking like it or not. I am too. The difference is whether you stay passive inside of it. So yes, study the mechanism. Then train yourself to hold that kind of tension without turning into a fucking nervous wreck. Without what's the word I'm looking for? Without like fucking frying your fucking circuits out and having to run away. You'd be surprised how many people fucking run away, Because why? We don't sit around talking about this shit in theory on boot camp. On boot camp, we put you in interactions where shit gets fucking weird. We put you in those. We, myself, my coaches, we watch the moment when you start to fucking flinch. And we slow that down. We run it back again and again and again and again and again until that little half-second collapse inside of you stops and you can just stand there and be steady while the shit hums around you. That's when people stop ignoring you, okay? That's when shit starts closing. So again, you don't have to overthrow the simulation. You just got to stop being like a background character inside of it. So if you're sick of all this bullshit, come train. You're sick of all this, I'm mature, I'm smoothing myself into obscurity. If you're sick of that shit, come and fucking train. Click the goddamn link in the description. You know the drill. Not to be like outrageous, just to become stable under the tension of this. All right? Anyway, just wanted to drop my 2 cents on this whole halftime extravaganza. That's it for today. God bless you. God bless America.